English Language Debate Competition 2022. Okay. Right, so the motion for today, this house believes that video games could be detrimental to children. Acting as the government team for this debate is the team from Kubang Pasu, with Miss Nurul Ariana binti Adnan as the first speaker, Miss Nurul Imtiaz binti Muhammad Ishraq as the second speaker, Miss Nur Amirah Shahirah binti Khairul Shakir as the third speaker. And the reply speech will be delivered by Miss Nurul Imtiaz binti Muhammad Ishraq. While acting as the opposition team for this debate is the team from Baling, with Mr. Adam Mukris bin Nur Azli as the first speaker, Miss Nur Nadira binti Zulkifli as the second speaker, Mr. Lim Jia as the third speaker, and the reply speech will be delivered by Mr. Adam Mukris bin Nur Azli. There are 3 adjudicators who will adjudicate this competition. There are Mrs. Mohana Balakrishnan as the chief judge, and she will assisted by Ms. Midra Tan Kershin, and last but not least, Mrs. Hazrin binti Abdullah. Now, I would like to read out some of the rules of this debate. For the substantive speech, each debater is given 8 minutes to deliver his or her speech. The timekeeper will ring the bell once after the first minute to show that points of information, POI, can be delivered. The timekeeper will then ring the bell once again at the end of the 7 minutes to show that the time for POI is over. At the end of the 8 minutes, the bell will be rung twice to indicate that the time allocated is over. A maximum time of 3 minutes will be given to both teams to prepare for the reply speech. The timekeeper will ring the bell once to show the start of the preparation time, and the bell will be rung twice after 3 minutes to show that the time to prepare for the reply speech has ended. For reply speech, the timekeeper will ring the bell once at the 3rd minute to signal that the debater has 1 minute left. At the end of the 4th minute, the bell will be rung twice to signal the end of the debate. Now we shall begin our debate today. To open the case from the government team, please welcome the first speaker of the government team, Ms. Nur Ariana binti Adnan.
Okay. Did you know what happened in an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians that aired on April 14 this year? Kim Kardashian's son, Shane West, 6 years old, stumbled upon a joke about his mother's explicit video while playing a video game called Roblox. In the scene, Shane showed his mother a Kim Kardashian experience room he apparently stumbled across while playing the game. Doesn't this show that even games that are made for children are no longer safe and they are detrimental to children? And today, we on the government side is going to convince you why. But before that, Assalamualaikum and a very good day to the respectable speaker, honorable adjudicators, cautious timekeeper, members of the opposition side, my beloved government team, and most importantly, members of the floor. The topic of our debate today is this House believes video games could be detrimental to children. We, the government side, strongly agree with this motion simply because of the harm and risk it gives to children. I, as the Prime Minister, will be giving you the definition of today's motion as well as stating my argument under the key phrase cyber criminals, then followed by Imtiaz as the second Minister, who will be giving 2 more points under the key phrase psychological effects and influence. And also Amira as the third Minister, who will be rebutting the opposition's argument. Now, the government side defines video games as game played by electronically manipulating images produced by a computer program on a monitor or other display. Could be meaning able to become or possible, detrimental meaning obviously harmful or tending to cause harm, and children meaning a young human between the age of 5 to 12. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little bit about video games. A video game is an electronic game that involves human interaction to generate visual feedback on a video device. There are individual games such as Subway Surf and multiplayer games such as Roblox, PUBG, Fortnite, and Call of Duty. Children nowadays prefer playing multiplayer games as they can interact with others from all around the globe while playing the game. Roblox, which is a gaming platform that claims to be suitable for children, also allows users from all ages to create games and room or play other users' games. This gaming platform has around 22 million active players daily, which shows how popular it is among children. Now, the problem is, since this game is open for all to create their own games, the creators tend to produce games that are based on hot topics in order for them to get high ratings among the players. This results in concerning cases such as the Kim Kardashian case that I mentioned before. Since the technology evolved, platforms can range from large computers to small handheld devices such as smartphones, which are frequently used by everyone, including children. This particular platform causes excessive time spent on video games that causes tons of drawbacks, which will be further explained by my second minister later on. And for your information, because of these video games, children are exposed to gaming communities, which are websites, forums, and message boards where fellow gamers engage with one another online. They are meant to enrich a gamer's experience by serving as a go-to source for everything from troubleshooting hardware issues to finding advice to climb leaderboards. Streamers or YouTubers also benefit from this as they promote video games on their channel to attract children. These give children unnecessary exposure to immoral cultures and bad influence as everyone can join these communities. Now I will be moving on to my argument under the key phrase cyber criminals. FBI investigations show that child predators seek out victims everywhere they think they can contact them. Online gaming is one of the platforms used by child predators in part because of its popularity. Predators can use different identities, pick new names, lie about their age, and use another person's picture as their own. Predators take advantage of children's natural vulnerabilities such as attention, depression, and insecurities. Most related crime often involve adult men who use the internet to meet and seduce underage adolescents into sexual acts. According to Internet Safety 101, at least 200 million girls and 100 million boys will be sexually abused before adulthood. Children also tend to be trusting people online and often befriend strangers of any age or gender. Online gaming also gives predators a logical topic to start a conversation with their intended victim, mostly about their common interests in the game. Predators may pose as friendly adults or age-appropriate peers to form relationship with potential victims. They often befriend children by giving them game tips or providing game currency such as V-Bucks in Fortnite and Robux in Roblox. Some games include team play or allow players to communicate through headsets, web cameras, and chat rooms. These features allow predators to generate and nurture relationships. They manipulate these relationships to groom and coerce children to send them sexually explicit images or videos or even teach them inappropriate things. Apart from that, it is also a place where cyberbullying can happen. If someone is not performing well in a game, other players may curse or make negative remarks that can turn into bullying, which can harm the children's mental health. Yes?
Are you aware that the game developers are doing their best to eliminate those predators in games, mobile video games.
You admit that these people exist and they are using this game as a medium to create such an uncomfortable situation for the children, which are detrimental for them. Moving on, anonymity of players and the use of avatar allow users to create alter egos or fictional versions of themselves, which is part of the fun of gaming. But it also allows users to harass, bully, and sometimes gang up on other players. When players are anonymous, it is difficult to hold them accountable when they bully others and use the game as a tool of harassment. Some players may use the game as a means to harass others or to get their personal information like usernames and passwords. They can even make others' personal information available online through a tactic called doxing. Doxing can compromise not just a child's information. Yes?
So in other words, you are trying to imply the world is also detrimental to children. Predators are lurking around the real world and even more exposed to a greater threat in the real world because they can exposed to being in the predators. Predators can kidnap all the children.
Well, game is a medium where predators connect to children in order for them to meet them in real life. These type of online communities are also a place where cyber criminals may seek to cause harm. For instance, by posting links that appear to be game-related but are truly computer viruses or malware, or where predators may seek access to children. You may say that this can be prevented by having parents observe or play video games with their children. But let's face it, how long can these parents keep up and have time to play with their children all the time in order to monitor their children? In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, we, the government team, strongly agree with this motion simply because of the harm and risk it gives to children. That is why we, the government, perceive this situation posing problem to children, hence supporting the motion today. This House believes that video games could be detrimental to children. With that, I beg to propose.
Okay, judges. The time for the first speaker is 8 minutes and 10 seconds. Right then, to start the case from the opposition team, please welcome the first speaker of the opposition team, Mr. Adam Mukris bin Nur Azli.
Hello.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. Good morning, Mr. Speaker, honorable adjudicators, the government, and members of the House. We are here today to debate on the motion that this House believes video games could be detrimental to children. Before we proceed with our arguments, I would like to first we define today's motion. Video games is any of the various interactive game played using a specialized gaming device or a computer or mobile device and a television or other display screen. Types of video games include role-playing, strategy, adventure, action, and so on. And detrimental is defined as causing harm or damage. The definition of children is either a boy or girl of any age between 1 and 17. Thus, we, the opposition, refute the definition given by the government. Based on the definition above, we, the opposition, strongly disagree with today's motion that video games could be detrimental to children because video games are beneficial towards children's development. In order to present our case, I, as the leader of the opposition, will rebut the argument presented by the Prime Minister. Then, I will introduce our first argument. My second speaker will rebut the arguments put forward by the Deputy Minister. Next, she will present two more arguments in our best effort to refute today's motion. After that, my third speaker will rebut all the arguments made by the government. Finally, I would sum up our case by delivering the reply speech. Before I start, let's look back at the statement the Prime Minister has made in his speech. The Prime Minister has noticeably made a few questionable statements in his opening speech. The Prime Minister mentioned that violent video games are significantly associated to the exposure of predators. Our Prime Minister has made passing statements without any supporting evidence. These claims are only isolated cases. Just because certain children are exposed to the predators, should the government choose to negate all the benefits it brought? Our dear government, we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Contrary with what our Prime Minister has just said, we, the opposition, will prove that video games are beneficial towards children's development. Now that the flaws in the government's argument has been exposed, the opposition will now bring forth strong arguments of our own. Our first point: video games provide children with a safe and fun outlet which can develop their emotional awareness and their coping skills. A study from the Behavioral Science Institute in the Netherlands on proficient gamers reveals that players who became upset during gameplay had found useful coping strategies to handle their emotions. The most useful resolution to the negative feeling is through problem solving or personal coping strategies, or getting social support from other players. Via playing video games, children learn to recognize and cope with negative emotions. They also learn to feel pressure and to face pressure from parents and teachers to perform well at school or dealing with deadlines. Moreover, playing casual video games help them to relax after a full day of responsibility and pressure as students. Jokes and funny moments occur during video game session with friends will bring them positive emotions. When we are having fun, endorphins, our happy hormones are released, bringing down the stress level, thus makes for a happy student. According to a study in Psychology Today, video games have helped children to build connections both in real life and online. While playing video games, children are unconsciously practicing scenarios which help to develop their emotional awareness and coping skills in a way that is non-threatening and fun. During the COVID-19 pandemic, with high anxiety, video games allow children to maintain friendship bond in a multifaceted way. 3 in 5 parents told researchers that communicating with family and friends as part of the video games have been helpful for the children's mental well-being. Members of the House, before I take up, video games do not bring harm to the children. It is a powerful and fun tool. Its benefits are undeniable. Before I take my seat, let me reaffirm our stand that we, the opposition, strongly disagree with the House that video games could be detrimental to children. We believe that video games are beneficial towards children's development. With that, I rest my case and I thank you. So, does anybody want to ask any point of information?
PRI?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But we see even the parents are blaming video games for causing problems and exposing these children to bad influences. So how can you say that video games can help children become happy and all of this stuff you're saying? Yes.
Could you slow it down, please? Because I can't seem to catch that. Sorry. No offense.
But we can see that parents nowadays are blaming video games for causing problems and exposing their children to bad influences. What is your opinion on this?
What? What do you mean? Parents are shifting blames to the video games. I believe video games are what makes the children happy. They are developing to a way more wider thinking. And it makes them happy after a full responsibility as students and pressure. I hope that answers your questions. Do you have any other POI? With that, I rest my case and I thank you.
Okay, to continue our debate today, I would like to invite the second speaker of the government team, Ms. Nurul Imtiaz binti Muhammad Ishraq. Please welcome.
Hayne Gamet once said, "Children are like wet cement. Whatever falls on them makes an impression." Assalamu alaikum and a very good day to the respected speaker, cautious timekeeper, honorable adjudicators, members of the opposition team, my beloved teammates, and members of the floor. The motion of our debate today is this House believes that video games could be detrimental to children. We, the government team, strongly agree with this motion simply because of the harm and risk they give to children. I, as the second minister, has been given the duty to rebut the opposition's leader's argument, as well as state two arguments under the key phrase psychological effect and influence. I would now like to move on to rebutting the POI given by the opposition team, where they stated that developers are trying hard to remove and eliminate these predators. That was intended to my Prime Minister, but this shows that predators do exist in video games. And in current media, which can harm the children of our generation. And if the developers are working hard to eliminate, why are there still tons of predators roaming free online harassing these children? As well as the second POI stating how even the outside world has predators who kidnap and harm children. Well, my response to this is video games are the medium where predators can easily connect with children to meet outside. This early of an age for children to experience this are already trapped into thinking this is normal, showing that when they grow up,
POI,
it impacts
please.
them even more. Okay, thank you. Allah. Oh, yes.
Okay, you're saying that predators are easily connect with children in the video game. So are you aware that nowadays almost every single video games already upgraded their version and which include age restriction. So how can these predators connect with the children with age restrictions?
Not talking about age restrictions here. Let's be clear. All these grown-ups can enter the video games that have these age restrictions. For example, these age restrictions are from 1 to 15, maybe 1 to 17, as your opposition leader stated. These 30-year-old men, these 30-year-old women can still apply in these games. Yes. Moving on to the opposition leader's argument, stating how video games provide
POI,
children.
please.
Can I finish my sentence first?
Yes.
Thank you. The opposition leader stated how video games help children cope with emotional issues like stress, pressure, and how while playing video games, children are happy because their endorphin levels are up, and how they can spend time with family through video games. But I don't agree with this, because what about spending time with family? What happened to board games? You can clearly play board games through that. You can communicate face to face, not even through face to face. Maybe you can go through WhatsApp. You don't even have to spend time with your family through video games because of all the harmful, detrimental causes of video games. Yes, I would like to know your POI.
Video games are even more efficient in coping with their problems. There are even ways interesting. Children need interesting things in their life.
Thank you for your POI. Well, isn't it the parents' responsibility to have this? Why are you putting out video games to create this environment for the children? Parents should create this environment for their children to make their children happy. Well, moving on, I would like to start with my first argument under the key phrase psychological effect. Video gaming is an extremely popular leisure time activity with more than 2 billion users worldwide. However, the media as well as professionals have underscored the potential dangers of excessive use, especially on children. By spending a predominant part of the day gaming, excessive video gaming are at risk of showing lower educational and career attainment as well as problems with peers.
POI, please.
No, thank you. I've already take 2 POIs. Going back to my argument, during March 2020, when strict lockdown measures were taken, phone game download volume reached a high record, increasing by 90% in Europe and a 75% rise in gaming in the United States. Social interactions became limited among children during the COVID-19 pandemic. Without attending school and other activities, children can become isolated while playing games. Parents may overlook excessive gaming in their children, therefore the gaming disorder risk may increase during this pandemic. How many hours of gaming is considered excessive, you may ask? More than 21 hours every week, 3 hours every day, is a type of gameplay that will start to have a detrimental impact on well-being, according to an Oxford study. A study on 712 Saudi Arabian kids showed how before the COVID-19 pandemic, 9.7% spent more than 6 hours a day on video games. After the COVID-19 pandemic, it was shown that 30.8% spent more than 6 hours on video games a day. From this example, we can see that because of the pandemic, increase in video game screen time reached 21.1%, which categories as excessive gaming, which leads into detrimental causes. Online games that are popular among children, such as Mobile Legends, Call of Duty, and PUBG, usually take around 1 hour. The least you can play is 20 minutes, which seldom happens. It is also proven, given brain research, that our brain can't distinguish between what's real and fake based on what we see on screen. So how could we expect that of a child who is still in their most important phases of growing up, mentally and physically? One of the most popular online games played by children worldwide is Roblox. This game appeals directly towards children under the age of 12, easy targets who lack the ability to discriminate between appropriate and inappropriate requests. The game invites players to explore imaginary worlds of all kinds, which some are not suitable for children, but the gaming company can't detect every single game on there, since people are free to post their own games which other users can freely play, which is detrimental to children's social skills and development. I would now like to move on to my second argument under the key phrase influence. Children learn and imitate behaviors by watching and listening. This is sometimes called observational learning, when children can learn things simply by observing. The models do not have to be people that the child directly interacts with. Children learn from models all around them. Some may argue that parents can oversee what their children are doing, but how far can parents actually oversee them? Given the fact this era of pandemic that has prompted in online learning, which resulted in young children getting mobile devices unsupervised at large quantities of time. For example, a father in Singapore discovered his 6-year-old son had spent $6,000 on in-app game purchases in just 2 days. The father stated that his son used his tablet for home-based learning when he made the in-app game purchases. Research in the United States shows that online gameplay is second only to social media as the most common digital venue for adolescents to meet new friends, which suggests that online games may fulfill the part of the need for social content and support, but online games aren't fully inclusive. Quoting back to my Prime Minister, she stated how the gaming community includes streaming channels, Discord servers, fan arts, fan theories, memes, and etc. Children watch streamers on YouTube, which is a very accessible platform and can easily be influenced by the streamers' actions. The most popular streamers have a large following with thousands of simultaneous viewers. Which goes back to how parents can't overlook every single thing their children are doing, or they might not even know how the streamers their children watch behave. For example, Ninja, a famous Twitch streamer who has over 18 million followers on his channel, is shown to rage when he loses. This impacts the way his younger viewers express their emotions after loss. From other examples I've shown you, I have shown you that video games are detrimental to children. So I would now like to restate the motion for today's debate, which is this House believes that video games could be detrimental to children. I believe the government team strongly agree with this motion simply because the harm and risk they give to children. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Second speaker for the government, the time is 8 minutes and 10 seconds. Okay, now the debate will continue with a speech from the second speaker of the opposition team. Please welcome Ms. Nur Nadira binti Zulkifli. Please welcome.
Good morning to the speaker. Good morning to the Mr. Speaker, experienced panel adjudicator, punctual timekeeper, formidable opponent on side of government, allies on side of opposition, and members of the House. Ladies and gentlemen, I've waited through two of the government speakers' speeches, and now it's time to give my own. I will, in my speech, shed more light on why we, as the opposition, strongly disagree that video game could be detrimental to children. In fact, video games are beneficial towards children's development. Before I proceed further, allow me to rebut all the points that the government stated, which has caught my attention. So the first thing that they told is that video game cause cyber criminals. When the government came out with this statement, it's crystal clear that side of government are not up to date to the news, because at the moment, almost every single video games are already upgraded their games version that include age restriction, parent verification, and bad censor word. These safety measures won't allow any sexual grooming that the government stated before. We believe that the government are not aware enough of the new upgraded version of video games. No, thank you, articulator. The second thing they told us that video games affect the children's psychology. We don't think this is true because we have an app called Google Family, which can help parents to control their children's time of playing games. So the last thing that they told us, children will imitate behavior. We don't think this is true. Side of opposition, responsive the government another question. Our video games are the only thing that we have to put all the blame on without taking care of any other factors such as like what the children have been taught in their family, what their friends have been told them in their recent time. So a bad workman blames his tool. Our dear government, do not blame your tools. Blame yourself for your inability to use these good tools beneficially. Moving on to my argument. No, thank you. I'll take you later. We, as the opposition, believe that video games are beneficial to children. Playing video games will help children to develop their social skills and help them establish social connections. There are some kids who are having troubles in making friends in real life. Thus, video game can be a refuge for them to find connections in a positive way. Furthermore, video games are also offering children virtual play dates with their real-life friends. Eventually, this kind of positive connection will help the children to fit in the community. For instance, Roblox offers the children to meet new friends from all around the world with extra safety measures, which include account restriction, parent PIN, and verification. Apart from that, video games also help the children in developing their teamwork skills. These skills will absolutely be beneficial to children. They will be easier to adapt in any kind of environment. Video games often mirror the kinds of interaction that help people work better together in the first place. For example, pursuing multiple goals, allocating shared resources, negotiating task ownership, and collaborating to solve problems in a team. Games such as World of Warcraft open up virtual worlds and communities that extend far beyond the computer screen. Interestingly, World of Warcraft was also mentioned in the Harvard Business Review as a fantastic tool to build virtual leadership skills. My dear government, video games are beneficial to children and not harmful to children. Moving on. Yes, please.
You say about the community, but we see in the video game community, there's a lot of thing about toxic communication, and there's also fan arts that are inappropriate for children. So what are you trying to imply that having a community in a video game is actually good?
All right, thank you for the POI. So we told you that with upgraded version of video games, we have age restriction and parent PIN. So all of these safety features will help and prevent those inappropriate things that will be appear on the video game. So the children won't be able to see those inappropriate things. Moving on to our second point. Aside from social skills, video games can also improve cognitive performance. Video games can stimulate certain parts of the brain that controls children's cognitive abilities. The brain has several parts that are playing roles in processing information. When the prefrontal cortex of the brain in the children is trained enough, they will be able to make rational decisions in every situation. Moreover, video games can also increase activity in other brain regions. This is because video games require the children to think of strategies and effective plans to win the game. As evidence in Mobile Legends, when the children participate in an online tournament, communication, strategy, and time discipline are the main thing that the children must have in order to win the game. So this video game trains the mind to make quick and sharp decisions in a very short period. On top of that, video games also help the children to master their hand and eye coordination. This will be useful to children because they are going to be capable of performing tasks that involve coordination of the whole body system. By this positive effect, the children will be more productive in class and they can do tasks efficiently.
Furthermore, playing video games can also improve a child's spatial abilities, including things such as enumeration, multiple object tracking, spatial resolution, and visual motor coordination. These spatial skills are essential for math, science, technology, and engineering. They are valuable in many real-world situations. In 2008, Terlaki found that training undergraduate students in the video game Tetris improved their spatial cognition. The very popular Minecraft as well is also being used to teach mathematics. Ladies and gentlemen, times are changing. Technology is advancing. The old ways of education are now obsolete. We hope that the government will reconsider their stance and willing to admit that video games is a great tool to develop children's learning skills and improve cognitive performance. Members of the House, having considered to all our points, we, the opposition, strongly disagree that video game could be detrimental to children. The opposition stance is clear. Video games are beneficial towards the children's development. Let's face it, the facts plays are clearly on our side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Second speaker of the opposition. Time is 7 minutes and 35 seconds. Dear ladies and gentlemen, and honorable educators, let's hear from the third speaker of the government team, Ms. Nur Amir Shahira binti Khairul Shakir. Please welcome.
They had said that the children of today is embracing a new norm through video games. However, I like to clarify. Just because it is a new norm doesn't mean it's good. With new norms or new culture, it is bound to be new threats, new issues, new problems, and the ugly truth is no effective solutions. That is why we on the government agrees with this motion. But before I explain furthermore about our beliefs as government, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good day I bid to the respectable speakers, honorable educators, precise timekeeper, bright rival of the opposition team, trusted comrades of the government team, and last but not least, lovely members of the floor. Standing here today, I, Amira, as the third minister, will be rebutting all the points given by the opposition team, as well as answering some of the POIs that was given by them. Today, we are discussing a hot topic that has been debated and discussed time and time again under the motion. This House believes that video games could be detrimental to children. We on the government strongly agree with this motion simply because of the harm and risk it gives to children. First, I would like to they challenge us with their first argument, which is they claim that video games is a safe and fun outlet. Like my prime minister had said, the predators are still lurking around these video games. So how can you say that it's safe? How can you say that it is safe? And my second minister has added that video games give bad exposure, such as negative influences. Yes.
As we have mentioned, are you aware that predators are lurking around the real world to kidnap kids? They give them candy and some way to kidnap our kids. But in the video games, we have a
I
lot of
understand
ways
your
to prevent this.
I understand your point. You say that game developers are doing their best to keep these types of criminals, which show that even the game developers themselves know that this is an existing problem that can be detrimental to children. The game developers themselves could be the predators, as a Sony game developer was jailed because of a pedophile accusation. Next, you are further proving with that point that it is a real world problem, and we as government are bringing forth the real issues that of the status quo, that these existing real life predators are using video games as a platform to attack children. Next, they say they say that video games are a good coping outlet for giving to relieve bad behaviors. But I think that using video games as a coping outlet is a bad coping mechanism, because around 9 in 10 parents surveyed said that the children were spending too much time gaming, so much so that their daily and family interactions are affected. Not to mention that children are more likely to be in a study aimed to investigate and compare the social skills of students addicted to computer games with normal students. It is proven that students that are addicted to computer games have lower social skills than normal students. Next, they challenge us with their second argument. They say that children seek refuge from video games. However, this can lead into bad escapism, where all they do is escape. So when all they do is escape to video games, don't you think that the children of today is going to be addicted to video games to the point that they are no longer
POI,
interacting
please.
around it? Wait, to the point of they forgetting to eat, they forget to do their homework. They are using video games as procrastination because, like you said, it is exciting, it is fun. That is why children wants to escape to it. Yes. Yes, UPI.
So you're saying that video games can be addicted. So you cannot put all the blame on video games. Addiction relies on the users and not the game. The children need to be taught of self-discipline. So we don't see that as a hurdle for us. You cannot put all the blame that video games. You cannot think that video games is a rotten apple. And just because of one bad apples, are you trying to throw all the whole basket just because of the one apple?
I think I understand your point. Well, you said that video games, you can't blame video games. However, even the parents themselves blame video game for all of this addiction. And parents know better about their children more than the society. So you can't say that we cannot blame video games when the parents themselves is also blaming children, also blaming video games. Next, they say that video games can increase teamwork skills. Well, I beg to oppose that, because just like I said in that study, children who are addicted to video games are more likely to have lower social skills. Next, lastly, in their third argument, they claim that it helps to teach students better. It helps with cognitive function. However, there are many other ways to help with cognitive function that are not detrimental and don't have as many cons as video games. For example, playing chess, crossword puzzles, real-life socializing with peers, learning new skills such as cooking, drawing, or sewing at a young age, learning a musical instrument, exercising, even normal day-to-day life activity like sleeping increase cognitive functions, not just video games. These activities are easier for parents to monitor and relate as compared to video games. About hand-eye coordination, these existing activities can train just that and even more. Video games, on the other hand, might train hand-eye coordination. However, video games can also cause eye discomfort, blurry vision, focusing problems, and even headaches from the amount of screen times adding up, and affects children even more in the long term as they are playing since a young age. Next, you said that there are newer versions that avoid all these problems that my Prime Minister and Second Minister had given. as much as we have all those new version, we have cyber police, we have securities, we can't deny in the world we live today, the security in the cyberspace is still weak and isn't as effective as compared to our security in real life. Even the Kim Kardashian criminal wasn't even catched till this day. So which shows that it doesn't work. Roblox terms of service does not work in real life. And I'll tell you a sad story about a video game. A boy killed himself, a 12 years old boy killed himself because he discovered a game that was which is called Doki Doki Real Literature Club, because it have suicidal themes in it. So with all the rebuttals that I have given you, doesn't it show that video games could be detrimental to children's growth, financial, social, physical, and behavior, as well as show how naive the thinking of the opposition as they fail to realize the consequences that video games have toward children's growth and safety? With that, I beg to propose. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Would you please
from the government.
exercise our surveillance camera just turn off so that we can turn on it back? Okay. The surveillance camera over there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, can you see me now?
Yes, we can see this.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, and honorable educators, this is the third speaker of the opposition team, Mr. Lee Yi. Please welcome.
Thank you. Good morning to Mr. Speaker, honorable adjudicators, the governments, and members of the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, Yogi Berra once said, the game isn't over till it is over. It seems that the government remains adamant to their stand that video games are detrimental to children. It is unfortunate that the governments cannot come to accept the truth that video games are beneficial towards children's development. Therefore, we, the opposition, have no choice other than directly and bluntly pointing out the many flaws in the government's lines of thought. The senior minister mentioned that children become isolated from the world during the pandemic. The government is just making a mountain out of the molehill. As we can see clearly, all of our children went back to school and continued their life just as normal as it should be. On top of that, as mentioned by our second speaker, video games makes learning interesting and stimulate cognitive thinking, which forms connections between children and this beautiful world. She also mentioned a kid spent $6,000 in app purchase, but again, they are making faulty generalizations with isolated cases. Not all the video games are bad. We choose to differ. Do you know that there are tons of educational games that can stimulate children's cognitive thinking, which can arouse their interest in learning? Next, she stated average gaming time has risen in the pandemic. It seems that the government has gone too far from the motion, as the evidence given is not related to children but adults. The Prime Minister mentioned that children is exposed to unnecessary danger, but the government is once again making a mountain out of the molehill. There are isolated cases. We can't say everything is bad just because of some bad apples. As much as you highlighted the bad ones, but ignoring the many good ones. Plus, we should take this opportunity to teach our children to be aware of dangers and being responsible. Just like how we teach children to cross the roads and be aware of ongoing vehicles. Someone can poke children's eyes with just a pen. But we will never say pen does more harm than good and is detrimental to children. Pen and video games are only tools, and we ourselves is the users. Our dear government, when you eat fish, eat the meat and spit out the bones. There are so many games in the market. Choose the best, the safest, and most suitable games. Take what is good and reject what is bad. Members of the House, the government keep on harboring about how video games could be detrimental to children, but purposely ignores the very benefits that video games brings to our children. Our government presented their arguments as if video games are harmful and an evil that must be avoided. Our dear government, a bad workman blames his tools. Let us not be the bad workmen. The wisdom is how well the tools serve us depends on how well we use the tools. After all, video games are only tools and we are the users. Did someone ask POI just now? No? So, let us use these tools, that is video games, as an opportunity to teach our children about time management and responsibility. Then we will be, yes.
You said that we can't. Okay, you said a lot of benefits, right? But which means it is contradicting on your side because you are also neglecting all of these other dangerous motives of video games. Aren't you contradicting yourself when you say that we don't see the benefits just because of the dangers?
I'm afraid that you doesn't listen clearly to my speech. I have stated the cases presented by the governments are only isolated cases. You all are making a mountain out of the molehill. But the opposition have proven that video games brings a lot of benefits to our children's development. Then we will be able to kill two birds with one stone. The video games will help children to learn skills and also help to develop their character. In this new age, we shouldn't be afraid of the tech-savvy world or even video games. Let us be aware that video games can help the burdens of learning, bridge the class divide, and bring this world, which is an oyster, to the four walls of home and classroom.
Okay, you say that video games help with education, but we see that during online classes where video games are used, the children say that a lot of children are having problems to learn. So, what is your point when you say that video games can help with education?
As stated by my second speaker, the video games helps children to develop their high-level thinking and cognitive skills. My dear government, you are the one that is naive. Therefore, we, the opposition, strongly disagree with today's motion that video games are detrimental to children. We strongly believe that video games are beneficial towards children's development. Video games benefits are undeniable. Thank you.
Okay, the time for the first speaker is 7 minutes and 6 seconds. We have heard the argument from both teams, and now the debaters are given 3 minutes to prepare their speech. Now, to wrap up our debate today, here is the reply speech from the opposition team, which will be delivered by Mr. Abdul and Nur Arshad. Please welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker, honorable educators, the government and members of the House. Before this debate began, I foresee that the government was most likely to cover up the truth of today's debate. All we've heard are lame excuses and a mass of contradiction. The motion for today's debate is video games could be detrimental to children. Have they proven the motion true? Not at all. They failed to support it beyond a shadow of doubt. The government needs to be cool as a cucumber, not shooting fast rockets. That's basically been doing basically no damage and speak with the speed of light. Now allow me to wrap out our points. In our first argument, we mentioned video games able to provide children with a safe and fun outlet for developing their emotional awareness and coping skills. Simple games that are easy to access and can be played quickly, such as Angry Birds, can improve players' moods and promote relaxation and ward off anxiety. By learning to cope with ongoing failures in games, children build emotional resilience they can rely upon in their everyday life. In our second point, we highlighted that video games help to build social skills in children. From young, children should know the value of good human networking. This is where video games can provide the platform for them. Children can learn to interact, cooperate with one another to achieve a certain goal. Video games also provide the players with the opportunity to take a leader's position, which requires greater social networking skills and teamwork to keep other players happy or survive. In our final point, we pointed out that video games help to improve their cognitive performance. Times are changing, technology is advancing, video games are not limited to playing only. We should welcome such learning with open arms and not to shun it because of our unfounded fears. The old ways of education are becoming obsolete. Everything is moving at a fast speed. Time and tide waits for no one. It'll certainly be sad to see our children like a fish living in a glass bowl while others are exploring the deep blue sea. To conclude, video games may carry some risks, but we should not let the government scare us and brainwashes us that they are harmful. Neither do we blame for video games for all the problems that exist. Yes, video games can be and other people. Besides, children are addicted with all kinds of things, displaying violent behavior long before video games were invented. The truth is, all technological platforms have the potential to be abused or used as a negative medium. But what is important is that children are taught to be responsible and to manage their time well. Why deprive them the opportunity to experience this powerful and exciting learning tool that can make them happy too? For this reason, we, the opposition, strongly disagree with the motion that video games could be detrimental to children. Video games are not harmful, but beneficial towards children's development. Therefore, members of the House, the motion that video games could be detrimental to children should be rejected. With that, I rest my case and I thank you all.
And last but not least, here's the reply speech from the government team, which will be given by Ms. Nurul Ikhtias Inti Muhammad Ishraf. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day. Welcome back to the reply speech arena. My task for today is to prove to you why our side, the government, should win this debate as we have three concrete points put forth during the earlier debate just now. I will first show to you how weak the arguments put forth by the opposition team are. Let's be realistic here. The opposition team are focusing more on the benefits and completely diluting the fact that there are a lot of harms to video games. The first argument was talking about video games help children cope with emotional issues like stress and pressure. While playing games, children become happy because their endorphin levels are up, as well as saying video games provide children with a fun environment which becomes a thinking outlet. We can see from their arguments that their arguments are weak, because how does it create a happy environment for all these harms that are from video games? The predators who are targeting children, the cyberbullying happening that has risen drastically through the pandemic, especially since from the pandemic, all these people are staying at home and have the access to all these laptops, especially from online learning, when children got the access to laptops for online learning, but still played games and started cyberbullying. Moving on, their second argument started talking about social skills. We, the government side, strongly disagree with this argument, since we can see when family events are held, children would rather play their video games than socialize with others around them. Remember during the movement control order was established, people started to try new things. Video games are one of them. People became trapped in a gaming frenzy. Video games became another channel to escape reality, where people started socializing less and less. The excessive use of video games may affect the quality and quantity of social skills. In other words, the higher the use of video games, the less the social skills. This is detrimental to the development of social skills among children. Their third argument was talking about cognitive function and how children will be able to make rational decisions. Children will now know strategies, communication skills. Strategies are needed to win competitions. So this will help the children as well as they say about hand-eye coordination. But the thing about this is there are many other ways that help with cognitive functions that are not detrimental and don't have as many cons as video games. For example, playing chess, crossword puzzles, real-life socializing with peers, learning new skills such as cooking. Video games are detrimental to children because of all these harms that they are giving. Moving on to my team's arguments, which are under the key phrase cyber criminals. This is a strong argument since video games open a space where criminals like children predators and cyberbullies can easily roam. Child predators can easily chat with children as well as take advantage of children's vulnerabilities. Cyberbullies can easily harass children with little to no damage on themselves, while the children facing these criminals have a detrimental impact on their human rights, adding the fact that in 2020 there was a 400% increasement rate towards children simply because of the access to games when people were stuck at home. Moving on, our team's second argument is under the key phrase psychological effects. This is a solid argument because looking back towards the COVID-19 pandemic, where people all over the world were put under lockdown, video games were the source for them to spend their time. But the problem is, video games for children at this early of an age is bad since it causes excessive video gaming that can overall lead to addiction. This clearly shows how video games are detrimental to children. Our team's third argument is under the key phrase influence. This is an impenetrable argument since children do learn and imitate behaviors by watching and listening. The video gaming community easily influences children's behavior and perspective in a bad way. Video games also negatively impact children's social skills, especially after the movement control order was established. This shows how video games are detrimental to children because of the malevolent influence imposed on children. From all I have said, it is clear that our team is winning this battling war. With that, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's all for our debate today. We would like to thank the honorable educators and debaters for your presence today. The result of for the debate competition will be announced shortly. Okay, please wait. Right, I will announce the results. The winning team is from team government, Kubang Pasu. And the best speaker for today is Miss Nur Amira Shahira binti Cairo Shakir. With that, thank you.